The World Cup of 2002 is remembered for so many things: the Brazilian samba, the diversity and the culture of the Asian subcontinent, the golden goal rule, and the historic run that the host South Korea went on. However, due to the referees and the contentious decisions taking place at the tournament, the World Cup held in 2002 goes down as one of the most controversial ones of all time. And nothing exemplifies it better than the Italian national team on their return to Italy, where they were applauded on their tournament performance. Not as heroes, but as players who had the bad luck of coming across some harsh decisions. The story here is quite similar to one that played out almost 50 years ago, where Italy had been knocked out of the tournament by North Korea when the World Cup was held in England in 1966. The Italians were surprised by the North Koreans as they played an hour of the game with 10 men due to the midfielder Giacomo Bulgarelli being injured. Keep in mind, this was before the age of substitutions, and the Azzurris carried on playing with 10 men. They ended up losing the game 1-0 and were sent back only after the group stages. When the Italians were returning back, the Italian FA had to keep hush regarding their arrival due to the heightened emotions the Italian fans had on the results. As the news of the team landing at Genoa airport at 3 a.m. leaked, fans came together in droves as their team was welcomed back with rotten tomatoes being pelted at them. Fast forward some 56 years to 2002, and the Italian team returns to Milan, not to a hero's welcome, but a large group of fans applauding them, commiserating with them and seeking autographs. The Italians brought a world-class squad to the 2002 World Cup, full of elite players in their prime of their careers. They had Alessandro Del Piero, Christian Vieri, Francisco Totti, and Pippo Inzaghi up front. They had the legendary defender Maldini in the heart of their defense, alongside Fabio Cannavaro and Alessandro Nesta. And the last line of defense was Gigi Buffon, the most highly valued goalkeeper at the time. Most of these players were the reason Italy had reached the final of the European Championship 2 years previously, as France beat Italy despite trailing for 90 minutes. The Italian manager, Dino Zoff, however, had taken everyone by surprise when he stepped down abruptly after receiving criticism from Milan owner Silvio Berlusconi. However, Giovanni Trapattini took over, and the Italian team looked strong with the backbone comprising of the same team that almost won the Euros in 2000. After beating Ecuador 2-0 in their first group stage fixture, the Italians failed to win the remainder of their games and barely made it out of the group stages. However, instead of the performances, the Italian supporters were angry about the refereeing decisions that had gone against their team. In their 2 games against Croatia and Mexico, Italy had 4 goals disallowed and at least 3 that looked like incorrect calls. Conspiracy theories flowed. The Italians had a feeling that because of their strong team, the administration was against them. Such allegations were, of course, never proved, but seemed highly suspicious, as there seemed to be a lot of decisions going the way of the hosts, and bad decisions only seemed to befall the big teams. Finishing second in Group G meant Italy now faced host nation South Korea. A banner made of cards held by South Korean supporters spelled out, again 1966, as optimism from the South Korean fans hoped to lift their team across through their choreography. Even though the results shone light on their neighbors North Korea, a country they were still at war with. There were plenty of reasons for the Koreans to be optimistic. The Italians were without 2 of their starting center backs, with Nesta injured and Cannavaro suspended. But there was still a lack of conviction. The Korean authorities reminded the home nation fans to stay in control of themselves regardless of the result. However, no one could have quite imagined what would come next, as one man would change the outcome of the whole game: Byron Moreno Ruales. Having already officiated the USA vs Portugal game on Tuesday, June the 8th, 2002, in the city of Daejeon in South Korea, Moreno would leave his mark on footballing history. Making decisions that seemed to defy all logic, his decisions were roared on by the South Korean home crowd, as the Italian fans and players looked on with bleak optimism. Hiddink sent South Korea up in an aggressive 3-4-3 formation and had them press the Italians the entire game. While the press created plenty of problems for the Azzurri, Christian Vieri managed to score the opener for Italy near the 20-minute mark. However, after this, nothing went right for the Italians. There was a steady flow of unpunished fouls. As it was, Moreno allowed the Koreans to continue their robust pressing game with near impunity, and their tactics paid off. The Koreans kept playing their game and eventually ended up scoring pretty late in the 88th minute.
3 minutes to go, and the Italians have been made to pay.
Moreno missed awarding Italy a penalty for a scuffle in the South Korean box. He also missed the South Korean player kicking Maldini in the head in an attempt to get the ball, and in the 88th minute, he sent off Italian forward Francisco Totti for diving into the opponent's box, an incident that looked like a definite penalty to the rest of the world. As the match went into extra time, Jung Hwan-an came up with an odd goal as he scored in the 117th minute, all while the Italians were left to witness the mistakes by the referee. To make matters worse, Italy also had a goal chalked off as offsides in the 20th minute of extra time, which replay suggests to be perfectly legal. The Italians around the world watched in disbelief. FIFA president at the time, Sepp Blatter, was adamant that the errors were due to the intensity of the game and called them human errors rather than a premeditated strategy. The opinion of the Italian people, however, was the game had already been planned out to keep the hosts in and promote football in Asia rather than staying true to the result. This time when the Italians returned, there was no angry crowd awaiting them with rotten tomatoes. The players were given commiserations and were welcomed back as everyone looked at them with a sympathetic look in their eyes. A few autographs were also signed as fans welcomed back the Azzurri with applause. This result wasn't the same as 1966, as the Italians hadn't lost, and they felt that they'd been cheated out of the game. Even today, the name Byron Moreno remains a nightmare for the Italian fans and players. The same Byron Moreno was later found to be guilty of match fixing, and was also arrested for drug trafficking in the United States in 2010, when he was caught trying to smuggle in 6 kilograms of heroin. However, 20 years on, the disgraced referee insists that the night in Korea was one of the best performances of his career. No one will truly ever know the reasons behind the calls Byron made that night, but it's safe to say he's had his fair share of infamy since. It is thanks to Byron and his decisions that many people remember the 2002 World Cup through the controversy of his decisions and with bad tastes in their mouth.